Hey everyone, just wanted to jump on for a little bit tonight and talk about some things, and bear with me 1 second. Just throwing some stuff up here. Well, basically, things have obviously been crazy over the past few months. That there's no doubt about that. But there is something. First, I just want to kind of talk about my background a little bit, where I come from, and why I believe the things that I do. If you've read my book, not important, I'm going to tell the story. I grew up in a church that was very much about fear mongering, and they were always talking about the end of the world and about how there was only a few people that were going to be saved from this huge, horrible Holocaust. And so, with that being said, there was a lot of crazy stuff with that, including telling my mother that she couldn't wear makeup, telling women that they could only wear skirts above a certain amount, just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So one of the reasons why I tend to be a little bit sensitive when it comes to subjects of anything that has to do with fear, and I really want to spend a lot of time looking at things before I even think and consider them as being truth, is because of that background. So with that being said, one of the things that I've always believed in is that we have to make decisions in our life about what we believe ourselves. And so, there's an awful lot of stuff out there that is very, it's crazy right now, to the point to where I'm not even sure what to believe now. And I do a lot of time reading and researching and paying attention to my own intuition. So with that being said, right now what we're experiencing is very similar to the things that I used to hear when I was a kid. I remember sitting in church, and my minister gave a 2-hour-long sermon. I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, talking about how all rock and roll was evil. I'm sure we've all heard this story before, but he talked about how the Beatles were evil and all this other kind of stuff. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's really crazy. And I don't want to be that kind of guy that sends that kind of message. So my message has always been this: you, inside of you, have your own ability to create your own world, your own sovereignty, your own life. You are, whatever you want to call it, a divine being, a prince of royalty of the universe, whatever, you're a child of God, whatever language you want to use. What works for you is great. And the other thing I've noticed in humanity, in the things that I noticed for church, is that they didn't necessarily believe. They believed in an end time and that God was going to save us all, the ones that were chosen. And so with that being said, they were waiting for a time when things were going to get better. And so I find this happening throughout all the communities I've been a part of. I've been a part of disclosure communities, psychic communities, spiritual communities. It doesn't matter what they are, government, we're activists, that kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of different communities. The common theme I'm always looking for or seeing is that nobody is okay with what's happening right now. And I'm not saying that we can't work for a better world. What I'm saying is that you have to appreciate the world you have right now in order to have that better world. In other words, you have to continue to be focused in on what is making you happy right now and focus on the good right now. And I'm talking a little bit about this because I've done videos about different things over the past month and a half or so, and I've been attacked by a QAnon supporter, very much a conservative person, and I've been attacked by very liberal people. So both sides of the spectrum. And I tend to run very middle of the road on a lot of things. So the reason why I do that is because I find truths in both sides. And what I've also found is that if I have an opinion that differs from other people, they tend to lash out and attack. And that's because we're all building these paradigms of the way things should be, and the way we construct this world around us and in our mind, and we construct this paradigm, so to speak. And when something even remotely shakes that up, we have to lash out, or we have to try to prove it wrong. And we try to prove it wrong for ourselves so that we can keep that construct of whatever it is we're thinking about the world should be. But I want to introduce you to a concept that I learned a long time ago. And it's basically the concept of being a Greek skeptic. And what a Greek skeptic is somebody that questions everything. They basically, they don't draw a conclusion about anything. I mean, they have basic ideas, and then they continue to do their research, and they continue to ask questions. Why? Why do they do this? And so some would say, well, you got to come with an answer or a place to be at some point in time. And so what the truth is what the skeptic, the Greek skeptic does is it says that as soon as I draw a conclusion that says this is fact, then I close my mind off to the potential of something even greater. And so a better answer, and I hear this from my friend Sherry all the time, is that this is what I believe in until I don't. And so I find that very an interesting response, because everybody's just compartmentalized that this has to be the only way and the only way to go, and this is the only way to believe, and this is the only way to see things. And so, and that's just not true. This is a very vast universe and a very vast way of experience. And so no one has all the answers. I mean, they just don't. And I don't have all the answers, and nor do I want to, because I love the excitement of learning and growing through my experiences. And so, interesting enough, what's happened is that we're all so polarized on I have to be right, and in my way of doing things is the only way to do things. And this comes down to politics, this comes down to philosophy, this comes down to how to handle situations in the world, and then therefore we're never coming together and actually creating real solutions. And so I had a gentleman earlier that we were talking about politics, and I said, I don't really side with either side, and I find a lot of them not very good, evil in a sense, that they don't look out for our interest. And I think that we should be looking out for our own interest in a sense, because looking to a politician to do things for us is not where I want to go. And it came down to, because I wouldn't agree with him, that I felt that the Democrats have better interest for us than the Republicans. And I said, no, I don't trust either side, so therefore I have to be a Republican. And so, and I just kind of laughed, because this man doesn't know me, he doesn't know anything that I've ever done, but because I didn't agree with him, and because I didn't agree with him, I just have to be the opposition because I'm against him. And I wasn't actually against him, I was just not agreeing with his statement. And so that's an issue. That's a real issue that we have to start looking at. And that doesn't create a synergy, so to speak, or where we can actually create a new world that we're all talking about. That we all want to say, be the change we want to see in the world. But that comes down to actually having conversations with people, questioning things, understanding things, looking for different viewpoints. And so that means that, yes, even myself and other people, we have to start looking at and maybe even accepting and compromising based on other people's viewpoints. And so right now in the world, there's a lot of people that are very afraid of getting sick from the coronavirus, and there are people that are not as afraid. The people that are sick are afraid of being sick. They feel like the other people are not taking it as seriously, and they're being disrespectful. And the people that are not necessarily as afraid, they feel like their rights are being infringed upon. And so there's a huge argument that's going on in the world right now. And the truth really comes down to the fact that nobody is willing to see the other person's side. And so, and nobody's willing to respect the fact that, hey, if you're afraid, that's okay for you to be afraid. That's an experience of what you're going through. And as a result, you're going to want to protect yourself and protect your family and the people you love and the things that you have around you. And so then the people that are not taking this seriously, the other people don't want to take that into account. And so I'm not going to get into sides here, but what I'm trying to get at is there's an energy that happens on both sides. And so that energy, if you really want to look at it, is if you kind of push against something, like pushing against a wall, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to find a resolution, so to speak. And so, but when you kind of bring down your armor and you're willing to hear, if you're willing to really hear with your heart and see where people are at and see the energy that they're in and what they're experiencing at that moment, then you can start to come to some common ground. And what's common ground? everybody on this planet wants to feel safe. They all want to feel abundant. They all want to have a dream. They want to pursue a dream and see it come together. They want to see that their children have more than they have. Everybody wants to experience love and happiness. And so what's really happening right now, people's feelings of safety and security are being shaken, and they're just manifesting in different stories, so to speak. Now, for people that have watched me for a while, I like to talk about the story a lot. And that story is playing out in different and manifesting in different ways to other people, or through different things for people. And so what we're doing is we're condemning other people's story and what they're going through. And as a result of that, people are not understanding their own sovereignty. I was just talking to my friend Sierra a couple hours ago, and I was very inspired to do this live feed, because one of the things we were talking about and we both agree on is people don't understand their own sovereignty. They don't understand their own divinity. And they don't understand that within you is this tremendous light that emanates out onto the planet. And so, and what most people also don't realize is that as they are arguing or in opposition of each other, or if they're afraid, or because even the people that are out there touting about they don't want to, they're not as worried about the virus and getting sick from it, they're just as afraid. And so there's a fear within them that's just manifesting different. And it could be down to that a mask making me wear a mask makes it feel like my freedoms are being taken away. And that's a story that I'm playing out in my head. And so it could be that by you not wearing it, it is making me feel like you don't care about me as an individual. These stories play out in all of us. And the truth is that, and even something I need to look at, is that we all need to sit down and get in our hearts and really start to experience things through the eyes of other people. And if we look at things, this is called empathy. And we look at the empathy of that and start looking at how other people are experiencing things. It doesn't matter, honestly. We don't actually need a government to tell us what to do. What we do need is to connect on the heart level, so that we understand that there's a government that is a lot larger than what we are. Now, I'm not going to call that anything. It's the universe or consciousness or whatever. And through my experience, that's what it is. And so some people will disagree or agree with that. It is what it is. What I'm saying is that if we came together in our hearts, we would come to tremendous resolutions in this world. And and that's just not happening right now. Right now, we're very at odds through each other. However, what I will tell you is that through friction and strife, pearls are formed and diamonds are formed. So what's really going on in the world? We're at odds with each other, but so what's really going on? We are changing and evolving as beings. In other words, this is really making us face who we are. And so if we're able to face who we are and really see what's going on within us, take this opportunity that whatever story is playing out in you that's making you feel like this making you feel afraid, or making you feel insecure or uncomfortable, that's your opportunity to look within yourself, because truly it's a way for you to alchemize into that empowered being that you are. And so welcome in all those emotions, and welcome in all these things about that are causing you discomfort. And that's a way for you to become more self-aware of who you are. There's a lot of really cool things happening in the world right now. And I think that right now, social media and the new media and the news and everything else is keeping us at odds with each other. And so what if we started really coming together and really talking about what's really going on? Like maybe coming together and saying, this is what I'm afraid of. And this is how I feel right now. And instead of us condemning each other for our feelings, instead of arguing our place and saying you're wrong, why don't we just embrace each other and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay and the world is going to end up being a better place, because we're going to make it a better place. Not because we're relying on somebody else to do it for us, not because we're waiting for a savior to come and save us, but because we're going to be our savior. We're going to come together and we're going to comfort each other as brothers and sisters and divine beings and love each other. And help guide each other through our stories, whatever that story is, and however it's manifesting. We're going to help each other get through that. And there's a whole lot of blessings coming up. Remember, 2020 is about 2020 vision, seeing things with clarity. And so instead of condemning somebody for their belief system, why don't instead say, I love you? And now some will say our fears are going to manifest and we're going to act out and we're going to go out and speak our truth. And that's okay. Go do what you feel is necessary for you. And what I'm saying is, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to an opportunity to talk about something, speak what you believe is true. And then come together and embrace each other. Even with social distancing, we can embrace each other, because if you kind of feel, for those of you that are sensitive on energy, there's an energy you can build. You can literally hug each other energetically. Even if you didn't even understand that, you can say I love you to somebody. You can say, I hope that you're safe. Many blessings to you, and I hope that you're healthy, and I hope that your family is healthy. And you could do those things. And so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be coming out with a lot more new content. I'm working on a couple projects with some friends and some collaborations, and I think that they'll be very cool. And I'm pretty excited about putting them out. But until then, much love, and I hope everybody's having a blessed week and they had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Bye-bye.